Good morning. Welcome to Friday. Not being rude, looking at my phone. Just going to turn it to public so that I can see all your lovely messages. Edit privacy, public. There we go. Make sure that worked. And we're done. Cool. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Lani. I was just about to say, if you're there, comment and say hello. But shh, because the dog's sleeping. Hi, Jackie. He is fast asleep under his blanket. Hopefully he'll sleep for it all. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Sue. Hi, Karen. Yes, it is another soggy day. It's a little bit damp out there, but the garden appreciates it. Does that make me feel really old? The garden could do with the watering, so that's fine. Hi, Vicky. I don't know where the time goes, really. Hi, Eva. Hi, Paul. It's like working from home anyway, but with everything being a bit upside down, it's like days kind of run into each other, and then you realise all of a sudden you're at Friday again. Good morning, dedicated druid. Hi, Jess. Hi, Teresa. A baby sleeping on you. Oh, bless. Like them when they're babies, so that they put them down and they stay there. I have to put the armchair here. This is Eric's armchair. He is under the blanket here because he likes to be near me. He's a pain in the butt if he isn't, so he has to sit there while I work. Yes, Friday. Hi, Heather. Yeah, I'm a bit spaced because I don't know what day it is or what week it is, or everything's all melded into each other. It's all very bizarre. Yeah. Very strange situation, but there you go. A little bit different today, just because I can. I have drawn a card from the Flower Magic deck, and this morning in my very posh little doofer thing, which I've done back to front. Let's see, it is one of those days. Doesn't bode well for the rest of the day being productive, does it? Okay, that one's hollyhock, and it's fruitfulness. They're not actually flowering yet, but a bit early for hollyhocks at the minute. Very, very nice lady on the card. Hold it up there, remembering that the camera's now in a different place. A very nice lady there with lots of goodies. Cornucopia. So fruitfulness is what the card of the weekend is all about. So let's have a look. Whatever you are working on now or about to embark on will bring you lots of lovely goodies. In order to reap, we have to sow first. All that arduous work that you have put in will pay off, but there either has been a huge amount of graft or there is about to be. You only get out of something what you put into it. Absolutely. The harder you work, the more fruit you will see at the end. Everything runs in a cycle, and all the time the wheels are being greased and the parts are being oiled, it will continue to function and keep on producing for you. A tended garden will grow successfully. Keep feeding, watering, and deadheading, and the harvest is yours for the plucking. That's true about absolutely everything. You'll get more out of something the more you put into it. If you do something half-heartedly, then the end result is going to be a bit wishy-washy. A hollyhock, the seed pods are really, they're kind of hexagonal shaped almost, quite big seed pods usually. They're used in fairy magic, but also to symbolize a full purse and any wealth and abundance workings. They are kind of folded over with lots of seeds inside, so they do look like little purses. The flowers carry the magic of being uplifting, so can be used in workings for positive energy. Add flowers to any spell work for death and rebirth, and use the flower to represent the heart chakra. The hollyhock bud can be fashioned into a poppet by stripping off the green sepals and then sticking the stem of an open flower in between the overlap of the bud's petals, if you understood that. If you get the hollyhock flower, it will make sense. Hollyhock is associated with the goddess Ceres and Demeter and the first harvest of the year. Ancient Egyptians used the hollyhock to make the flowers into wreaths to adorn mummies, so it has a good death and rebirth connection. And the seed pods are often called fairy cheese, as they look like little tiny wheels of cheese. They do. You have to have a look at a hollyhock seed pod. It's quite intriguing. So that's your card from the Flower Magic deck for the weekend. It's all about fruitfulness. It's all about putting in the work, really, and that goes for anything. If you put in the work, then you'll get results, whatever you're doing. Lesson, here endeth the lesson. As usual, if you've got any questions, please type them in the comments and I will do my very best to answer them. Something a little bit different today. I'm going to look at spell working in general, and then I've got some magic to show you, which sounds a little bit like a magician, like I'm going to pull a rabbit out of a hat. I might pull a dachshund out of the armchair, but not a rabbit out of the hat. Summer in flower, they're in churchyard full. Oh, bright red ones, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it is. You know, everything's coming into flower now. So now in the next couple of months, everything will be flowering. I do love hollyhocks. We have had them in the garden, obviously, because that one is a picture that was in our garden, but they do suffer with rust. I know it sounds a little bit bizarre for a plant to be suffering from rust. They get these little rusty spots all over their leaves. So we do struggle with that in our garden. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful plants, and really, really tall as well. Used to have hollyhocks in the garden, they disappeared. Yeah, some plants do, don't they? I think it's funny, we plant stuff and it comes back or it doesn't come back, but a lot of plants do actually have a finite time of growth. Some plants only last a year or a couple of years, some last a bit longer, but you know, and then you look at some rose bushes and they've been going for years and years and years, so it does depend. The slugs and snails do love them, Rachel. Yeah, we do struggle a lot with slugs in our garden. Hi, Penelope. Yeah, we've got our garden is walled, so the slugs and the snails live in the walls, and they absolutely love eating our plants. Hi, Tina. Right, so let's have a look today. Again, I don't need my keyboard, do I? Well, that's there for. If you've got any questions about what I'm doing today, about spell work or plants or herbs or magic or anything you like, anything you think I might be able to answer, do type it in the comments. I'd be more than happy to answer. And you know, it mixes it up a bit. Then you don't have to listen to me waffling on and on and on. But I thought today I'd look at actual spell work, because I've been doing spell work each week. I thought I'd actually have a look at it. Now, I like to look things up in the dictionary because I'm quite sad like that. But the dictionary says the definition of the word spell. A spell is a series of words that have magical power. If you're under a spell, then what you do is out of your control. Your thoughts and actions are dictated by the spell. Spell can refer to the magic words you say, or it can describe being under the influence of these words. Yeah, words have power, and I think that's a big part of spell working. I do often get asked, do you work spells every day? No, I don't. I work a spell when I need to. My go-to is usually to work something in the mundane first. If you've got a problem or an issue, sort it out in the real world first. Quite often I will back it up with the spell. But no, I don't spend my entire day working magic, unfortunately, because, you know, life, got a job and family and all that kind of stuff. The simplest form of spell is a wish. Look up at the moon, make your wish, but you can make it a lot more detailed. You can make it a lot more complicated, candle spells, medicine pouch spells, all sorts of things, and you can layer it up. Christine, didn't realize it was Friday. So I know it just saying it, it's the days have all kind of melded into each other. I have no idea where I am or who I am generally. It's all a bit sort of mushed together, but there you go. Anyone can cast a spell, but it will depend on the results the strength of will, the strength of intent, the focus, the energy, the commitment, and to also backing up the spell. I always use the example, if you cast the spell to get a job, but you don't actually ever apply for any, then the spell isn't going to work. You've got to back it up with some actions, basically. You've got to follow through with it. Morning, Peter. What will I be doing for the solstice? Actually, we've got an online celebration. We were going to be hosting a ritual on Butser Hill, which was very, very exciting. First time we've been asked to do that. But of course, that's not happening now. So we will, as Kitchen Witch, we will be watching the online Stonehenge live streaming for the solstice, and then at 9:30 a.m. UK time on Sunday morning in the Kitchen Witch Coven group, we'll be hosting a live online solstice ritual. So do join us there for that. So that's what I will be doing. Hopefully during the day I will be able to get out into the garden as well, but yeah, raining at the moment. But yes, that's how I will be celebrating the solstice. I'm actually going to watch the Stonehenge live, and then I will be doing a Kitchen Witch ritual on the Sunday morning. And that's my husband's phone ringing. Bit of thunderstruck, I believe. Yes, yeah, ACDC. That's what we like. But so yeah, well, I'm only in Portsmouth, Paul. Good morning. So yes, hopefully next year we'll be able to do it. The Queen Elizabeth Country Park asked us if we would host a ritual for the solstice at Butser. So hopefully that will happen next year. But yeah, everything's online at the moment, isn't it? Which is cool. Right, spells. Okay, energy. You got to put the energy into it. If you don't think your spell's going to work, then it isn't. It really isn't. You know, you've got to put the energy and the intent into it. I also encourage people to add your own flair to it. There are lots of books, mine included. That's where this information has come from, the Kitchen Witch Spells and Charms book. You've got to make it yours. Make it yours. Work with the basic spell. If you find it on the internet or in a book, it'll give you a basic idea. Absolutely brilliant. But put your own spin and your own flair to it, and trust your intuition. If you feel it needs changing a bit or tweaking a bit or slightly different ingredients, trust your intuition. If you make it more personal, then it will have more effect. I'm also often asked, do spells work? Yes. Of course they do, otherwise we wouldn't still do them, would we? But you do have to consider that the universe is quite often an absolute total git. It often has a habit of interfering, but then you also have to remember that the universe usually knows best. So what you think you want is not necessarily what you need. So bear that in mind. I also get asked quite a lot, why didn't my spell work? It may have worked, but it may not have worked in the way that you wanted it to. Good morning, Irene. I say the universe interferes, but also make sure that you are clear and concise in what you want when you're wording your spell. Are you familiar with the techniques used? If you're working with new technique, make sure that you have studied up on it properly. Maybe you didn't fully understand how it was supposed to work, or maybe you just need a bit more experience. Start from the beginning, do it again. Were you really committed to the outcome? And I think that's a biggie. If you were a bit half-hearted about it, then it's not going to happen, or it's not going to happen properly. Did you set a time frame? I think quite often in spells we don't actually set a time frame. So you might be a week after your spell and think it hasn't worked, when actually it's going to take 2 weeks or a month to work. So if it is time sensitive, then make sure that you stress that within your spell working. Did you ask the deity or the universe for something? And if you did, remember that they may always say no. It is a possibility. If you asked assistance from deity, the divine, or the angels, and you don't actually have a relationship with them, or you didn't give an offering in exchange or thanks, or they might not be interested in helping. Do remember your manners when you're dealing with deity and the divine. And was your outcome, desired outcome, realistic? Working a spell to become a real life princess probably ain't going to happen. So make sure it's actually a realistic goal that you're working for. Did you raise a good, strong amount of energy? Was it a tornado of power, or was it a gnat's sneeze? That will make a very big difference. You're working with energy and intent there. And did you doubt your skills? Because that happens quite a lot. If you doubt yourself and your abilities, then that's going to lessen the intent of it. And also, did you send out conflicting messages? It's about being clear and concise. A little side note on taking responsibility, which is something that I think we should all do anyway. Take responsibility for your words and your actions. Just about unharmed to none. And the yawn from Eric. I always used to put unharmed to none as a sort of disclaimer on the end of any spell that I was working. An escape clause, really. And again, I used the example, you work in a money spell, you ask for loads of money to come your way, and it does, but it does because someone you know's died and left it to you. Not actually the general idea when working a spell. So I always used to put unharmed none on the end so that that didn't happen. However, experience and, working with it, led me to the conclusion that actually by putting unharmed none on the end, I was curtailing the spell. Although it hopefully stopped people from dropping like flies. Whatever spell you cast, whenever you're working with energy like that, it's going to affect someone. If you're casting a spell to get you a job, if you're going for an interview and you cast a spell to get you that job, it will harm the other people. If you get the job, then the other people that went for the interview are going to be harmed because they didn't get the job. There's always that kind of it will affect other people. So bear that in mind and don't kind of cut yourself short, basically. But remember that every spell that you cast will have some kind of knock-on effect somewhere. It's like dropping a pebble in the pond. There will be ripples from it. Just bear it in mind, really. I think intent for me is the most important. Like myself, do you think that sometimes the most simple spell can have a bigger impact? Absolutely. And again, it is the small pebble in a big pond. You drop a small pebble in the pond and the ripples are far-reaching. Bear in mind that you are working with energy, and that energy will more than likely affect other people. But that's not to dissuade you from actually working spells. The only way you'll gain experience is by doing it. And they are a very useful tool for a witch to have. Lani says good morning to you and Eric.
Morning.
For anybody who doesn't know, my husband's working from home at the moment, so he's sitting right next to me, out of camera shot. But I would suggest when you're working with a spell, get it all set out first. Your purpose, your intent, who, what, where, when, why, how, basically. Get it all laid out so that you've got it all organized, and trust your intuition. You don't have to write beautiful sonnets. I'm having my hand washed. You don't have to write beautiful sonnets or rhyming poetry. Just speak from the heart. But your words need to have meaning. So again, we're down to intent, really. All different sorts of spells you can work with, and I have covered some in this. Get all your ingredients together, work out what you're going to do, what you're going to do with them, and layer them. Again, I've done on the Friday mornings, I've done quite a lot of working with herbs and crystals and various things. You layer up the spell, so you add more layers of magic to it. So today I wanted to have a look at petition papers. We did cover them I think I used one in last week's. I'm going to have a drink first, excuse me. It's hay fever, it's nothing dreadful. Right, petition papers and name slips. They're slips of paper A name slip is one that you write a person's name on. So if you're working a spell for yourself or you're working a spell for someone else, you can write the person's name on a slip of paper and include that in the spell. That will give it some focus and some direction. Petition paper is basically a slip of paper that you write your wish or your desire on. I'm just going to wrap the dog in his blanket and then he'll be happy. Good. Right. Eric sorted. So petition paper is what you write your spell and your desire on. You can add extra magic to the... Sorry, Sue, I didn't realise how many crystals I had until I went looking for them. Yeah, I think that's probably the same for all of us. They have this magical ability to increase in number when you're not looking, a bit like tarot sets, really. You can add them to your spells, your petition spells, by using coloured ink. So you might use black ink for protection, you might use red ink for passion, green ink for money spells. In Hoodoo, they use red or black ink, and often they'd use blood. Dove's blood is the most common. Dragon blood would be good, but you won't often find many sources of dragon blood. You can use real blood, but get it from your local butchers. You might struggle to find a supply of dragon blood from your butchers. They might look at you quite strangely. You never know. Dragon blood ink actually is created by putting a few drops of dragon tree resin. It's the dragon's blood tree resin, essential oil into coloured ink. That's how you make your dragon blood. But it's quite good to use coloured ink when you're writing your petitions. Lani knows a lot about having crystals. Yep. So you can add your magic by adding colour magic into it by writing with coloured ink. It doesn't have to be ink. It can be felt tip pens. It can be pencils. It can be crayons. It's entirely up to you. You can also make plant ink, different plant inks as well. There is a blog on my Witches and Pagans blog about making plant ink. You can also add to your ink, if you are using that, by putting essential oils in that correspond to your intent. What paper you use is up to you. I use photocopy paper purely because I have a very big supply of it. Demetra, hello, how are you? Eva has to go and get a daughter from Glimper. Oh, we'll catch you later, Eva. Have a good day. Gym class. Well, that sounds a bit energetic. What are you squeaking for? What paper's up to you? I use photocopy paper because I have a ready supply of it. I also use, I'm hoping that they're there, I've got these little notepads, and they're brilliant for little petitions because they're quite small and you can just write your intent on them. There are lots of beautiful parchment papers out there. You could use coloured paper to work colour magic into your intent. It's entirely up to you. There's some you can hand make paper if you really want to, but to me, you're going to burn it. So, I use what I've got to hand. Brown paper is brilliant. Paper bag, sheet print paper, handmade parchment, doesn't matter. There is some theory that if you use paper and you tear it, the torn edges allow the magic to seep out. I don't work with that particularly, but if that means something to you, trust your intuition. If you prefer to tear the paper, then absolutely go with it. People tend to use scissors to cut the paper for banishing petitions or cutting ties with someone, and that makes absolute sense as well, because scissors are good for working with banishings and cutting ties. As a general guide, when you write a petition paper, and I've got quite a large one here. Here's one I prepared earlier. I've got a large one here. So for a petition paper, hi Maria, you would, the suggestion, it's up to you, write the word or the name 3 times. So your intent or the person's name, write it 3 times on the piece of paper. So here's one for happiness, obviously. Then And here's another one I prepared earlier. Look how organised I am. Can you see my halo? Then you turn the paper, catch the light, 90 degrees clockwise, and you write it again. So you end up with that. You write the 3 words again. So you turn it, get the camera right, you turn it clockwise and write the 3 words again. You can do that 3 times if you want. You just turn it another time and write another 3 on. So you end up with the word 9 times written over each other. That's quite a traditional way of working with the petition. You can dress it with oil. So I have some solstice oil here actually. And a brush. So you, hello, just dress it with your oil, however you feel the need, to add intent to it. And then you fold it. The idea being that if you're bringing something to you, you fold the paper towards you. Keep folding it towards you. So you're bringing that energy to you. If you're banishing, then you would fold the paper away from you. And then you've got your petition paper. You can place it under a candle. You can put it in a mojo bag, medicine bag, or let's light the candle. Or you can burn it. Didn't get my tongs, did I? So you would then set fire to your, that squeaky noise is Eric. Set fire to your petition and burn it. But please put it in a fireproof cauldron or casserole dish or metal bucket, somewhere safe anyway. And that releases the magic. So that's your petition done. But you can put it under a candle. You can put it in a medicine pouch with herbs and spices, other ingredients. You can wash it down a river or throw it into the ocean. Please use biodegradable paper for that. And that really is as easy as that. That's your petition. Very, very useful things. I now want to cover, and this word always makes me laugh, a sigil or a sigil. I always want to say seagull, and then that's just not what it is. It's not a seagull, it's a sigil. There's something, I can't say that word. It's just one of those words that I just struggle with. However, it is very easy to work, magic to work with. You need a paper and pen. That's pretty much it. You can even draw them. You can draw them in the sand to make everything so relaxed. I wasn't the first. The first time I went live, I was petrified. The first time I did a talk, I was petrified. I still have wobbles now and again. I guess it's experience in doing it, Sue. I still make mistakes and I still get nervous sometimes, especially doing big talks in front of lots of people. But it's you guys. How could I, I'm relaxed because it's you guys. And because I've got the dog here, obviously, who's being a squeaky animal at the moment. So sigils. I really struggle with that word. You can draw them in the sand. You can draw them in the soil, just with your finger. You can. Now, Karen embroiders them onto her goddess puppets. Fair play to you, Karen. That's way too much patience for me. You can also use sand or coloured sand, powdered spices and incense, and make patterns to make your sigils. I will get there eventually. But it's all to focus magic and to manifest things in your life. You start with a blank sheet of paper. Dog stepping there. So you start with your sheet of paper, and then you have to get your goal or your desire. Be specific, but keep it short, because you're going to have to write a sentence, a short sentence. I've gone with, and this will probably make you laugh, That's my beginning. Look, my books will be a success because, every little helps, right? So that's my desire. So I've written that. Start by writing it out. Obviously, I've written it huge. You don't need to write it huge. I've written it huge so that I can show it to you guys. So that's where you start. Keep it short, keep it succinct. Oh gosh, I'm having problems with my words today. And keep it focused. So you start with that. Then you have to take out the vowels. So I've written it again without the vowels. And you end up with that, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But you've taken out the vowels from the sentence. Then you reduce it even more by taking out the duplicate letters. So then I get left with that. So I've taken out all the duplicate letters, all the double C's and the S's and the B's and the L's. So that's what I'm left with. So that's what I'm going to work my sigil with. Now you need to create a design with those letters. It's up to you how you do it. You can write them out in a spiral. You can write them out in a square. You can write the letters all over the top of each other. It doesn't matter. Be guided by your intuition and how you want to create an image with them. Don't stress over it too much. Just sit quietly and let your creative energy flow. So I've done a couple here to show you. So using those letters that I was left with, that's then all pretty much written over each other. There's another one here where they're all just joined together. There's a kind of spiral there with the letters. And this one where they're all beside each other. The first one is the one that the second one. The second one is the one that I tend to work with. So they're not all on top of each other. You can still make out the individual letters, but they're all linked. So that's how I tend to work with the letters to make my sigil. And then it needs to be activated. The best way to do that, burn it. So I will fold it over because it's quite a big piece of paper. You light the corner of the paper on your candle or with your lighter, whichever you want, and then you drop it in the cauldron. And that's the Sigil Magic. Done. With something like this, actually, when I wrote the Spells and Charms book, which this is all in the Spells and Charms book, I actually did a sigil and it's in the book. So the magic's there working, hopefully, fingers crossed. So if you have got something where you want a book or you've got a project that you're working on, you could put the sigil in, write it in. If you've got a manuscript you're sending off, you could write it on it. If you've got a contract that you're working on, you could write it on it. You don't even have to see it. You could write it, just with water, wet your finger and draw a sigil on it so that it dries and then people can't see it. They are really, really useful. You can paint them and draw them on all sorts of things. And as I say, sand in the ground. Doesn't have to be pens and paper. You can draw them any way you like. There are different ways of doing it. There are different graphs and charts and ways of working out the letters, but for me this one is the most simplest. So you start with your whole sentence, you take out the vowels, and then you take out the duplicate letters, and then you make your design, and that's it. That's your sigil. Thank you for explaining. I think this is one that is actually quite good to see someone doing it, which is what I had hoped, really, to show you things so that you can see people doing it. Sometimes in books or reading about them, you don't get the gist, really. Karen, if I'm not feeling like sewing, I write on paper and put it in the poppet. Yeah, brilliant. You can do your sigil or your petition and put it in witches' bottles, in medicine pouches, inside poppets. It's entirely up to you. Hi, Paul. do you write sigils onto the side of the candle? Yeah, I've tried on a spell candle. Yeah, it's quite small. Yes, any tips for writing on the side of a candle spell? Candle spells obviously are quite small. I wouldn't write a whole sigil on them. I tend to just write a symbol or an image. So if I'm working with a love spell, I might draw a little tiny heart on it. If I'm working with a prosperity spell, I might draw a pound or a dollar sign on it. If you turn them sideways, you can sometimes write a word. If I'm working with a person's name, I'll just put their initials on. I'm very lucky that I've had some ritual tattoos done by the lovely Susie, Ink Witch, and she gives you your tattoo needle when she's finished, and I actually use that for inscribing on candles. But needles, embroidery needles, the big thick ones, they're very useful for it too. Yeah, keep it small and keep it simple. I think, Paul, is that it's not easy to do because the spell candles are tiny. But yeah, keep it simple. Rather than doing the whole sigil, I would do a symbol, or even maybe even the first and the last letter of it. So you could do, with that one, you could just put the M and the C on it, and then fold the petition up and put it under the candle. But yeah, it's about condensing it, I think, so make life easier. Make life easy for yourself. Alani, Amy sat on the floor next to me and waving. Hi, Amy. Hey, lovely. She's such a sweetie. Christine, normally write with a pencil first to make sure it's right. Yeah, good idea. Yeah, fine liners are really good for drawing on your candles and things as well. But yeah. Hi, Deborah. Yeah. But known you a long time. Sue, sorry, pressed the angry by mistake. That's all right, I don't mind. Yeah, if you're unsure about it, then write it with a pencil first, and then follow it up with ink. But go with what works for you, really. But I think petitions are really, really simple magic to work with. I mean, I could even just use that. I know it's a bit big. It's big for you guys. But that, fold it up, light it, put it in, burn it. As long as your intent is the most important thing with it. Words do have power, absolutely. And you want to make sure that you don't leave any room for misunderstandings when you're working with spell work. But petitions are brilliant, and particularly if you're working with healing or a spell for someone else, you can put in it, just write their name on a slip of paper, and then it gives it focus to it. I would say, and I do get asked this a lot, do I work spells for other people? No, I don't. I might work a healing spell for someone else, but I don't work spells for other people. I think the power and the intent is always best if it comes from the person who has that need or that desire. I know there are people that offer services to do it, but I think if you're capable of doing it yourself, then it's going to have far more power and energy to it. Your desired outcome is, if it's for you, is far stronger than anyone else's. So, again, keep it simple. If you're not very experienced with spell work, then petitions are a brilliant way to start because they are so simple. Deborah's going to do this right now. Excellent. Yeah, practice makes perfect. Maria made 2 last week, but joined them with a wavy line. Nice. You have to be guided by your intuition, I think, with magic, with anything that's magic. You've got to trust your intuition and be guided by where that's going to take you. If you are interested in sigils, I'm going to have to think of another name for them, aren't I? There are different ways of doing it. There are grids, letter grids, and all different sorts of ways of doing it. So if you are interested in it, do some research, because it is quite an interesting subject. But I think it's one of the most straightforward pieces of magic you can do. Write it on a piece of paper and burn it. Really, really easy. So that's sigils and petitions. If anybody would like me to cover anything else specifically, please do message me or pop it in the comments. If you've got any more questions today, pop it in the comments and I will happily do my very best to answer. As with anything, you can layer it up. You can add, if you're folding your petition up to burn it, you could add herbs inside it. You could add different essential oils and fold it up and then burn them all together. Adds other layers to it. But it's all about your intent, really. And petitions are so really easy and straightforward, basically. Simple. And I think that's important, really. I think magic should be straightforward. If you're writing it down and focusing your intent, then it's less likely to go off astray. Protection and health. Where can I get a nice book of shadows? It's fun, isn't it? We were talking about this the other day. I have a book of shadows, but it's actually just a lever arch file. You're having conversations without me. I use a lever arch file because I actually type most of my book of shadows, and then I can rearrange it if it's in a lever arch file. I decorate the outside of the folder. I hand decorate the pages once I've printed them off. There's a lot of nice leather bound ones, but you have to hand write them all. And I kind of think, what if I make a mistake? So I actually made my own from lever arch, and then you can cover it as well. You can cover it with all sorts of fabrics or papers or whatever you want to do, stick things on the outside of it. And then I can rearrange sections as well, and I can add to the sections and I can take away from the sections. So mine is actually a lever arch file, Christine. But post it in the Kitchen Witch group, Christine. I'm sure people will make suggestions for you of where they got theirs from. Yeah, Sue's lever arch. Some people make it so hard to follow. Breath of fresh air. Thank you, Sue. That is absolutely my intention. I don't like anything too complicated. So if there's anything else that you don't understand or want me to go through, then please do. I'm probably going to work from the Spells and Charms book over the next couple of weeks, showing you different spell techniques and different ways of doing things. What I did today is all in there with examples and with images. But I think it is quite often easier if you actually see someone do it. So, yeah, I'll do my very best to share what I do with you. Yeah, Penelope's the same. File makes it easy for organising. I think it does. Lever arch files are brilliant. And as I say, you can decorate the outside of it yourself. You can also use nice parchment paper inside it if you want to. Have a lever arch but want to make it into a book. But maybe a chat on how to decorate the Book of Shadows. Oh, hello. Do you know, Christine, that would be an excellent one with the girls. When all this madness is over, because the girls are far more creative than I am, maybe we will have a Book of Shadows decorating chat with the girls here, and we'll show you all of their Book of Shadows and how we decorate them. What's the oracle, please? Oh, the oracle card for today, Maria, is hollyhock, fruitfulness. So this is all about reaping what you've sown. If you put the work in, then you will get the results. But you've got to put the work in first. Hello, are you coming up to say hello to people? Come on then. Come and say hello to people. Yeah, so fruitfulness for the weekend. Paul loves hollyhocks. They are beautiful, aren't they? But we do struggle with hollyhock rust in our garden with them, but they are beautiful. But yes, I will mention that to the girls, Christine. That's a brilliant idea to have a decorating your Book of Shadows. Yeah, we'll do a Kitchen Witch one on that. That would be great fun. Hopefully soon. That's Eric. Yeah, Eric's now licking the table like you do. You are lovely, but you're a bit of a muppet, aren't you? So yes, anything else, please do message me or make suggestions. I don't need kisses, thank you. I'm going to say hello to everybody. Hello. Mind the candle. So yes, I think that's probably it for this week. Let's put Eric back in his armchair. You can get back in your armchair. Come on now. There you go. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me, and Eric. As always, if you have any questions, if you need any help, if you want any support with anything, do message me or the Kitchen Witch gang. We are here to help and support you with whatever you need, whatever we can provide. We're here. Don't struggle on your own. Sunday morning on the Kitchen Witch Coven, 9:30 a.m. UK time, we're having a live solstice ritual written by the lovely Heather, hosted by all of the Kitchen Witch gang. We're all taking part in that. So that's over on the Kitchen Witch Coven, 9:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. Thank you, Paul. I say Eric's now stolen. Eric's going to eat the sigil. I'm not sure how that affects the magic. It's got added dog slobber on it. He does like a bit of paper. Thank you all for joining me. And again, if there's anything you want covered, just drop me a message. Otherwise, I'll just waffle inanely about whatever I feel like. And I will see you all hopefully on Sunday morning at the Kitchen Witch online ritual. Otherwise, I will see you next Friday, and very, very positive, happy summer solstice blessings to everyone. And thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you soon.